6 weeks ago, our club, sparing no expense, did a tank tour, and we went and visited 6 different homes that day. So I had to roll out of bed really early to make it over to Shane's house to see his reef tank, and he's actually between tanks. So he's got this little one here, this nano, with these beautiful clownfish, and then he has himself a 90-gallon, but there's even a bigger one waiting across the room that he's going to plumb in. The one thing I appreciated about his tank were the beautiful variety of fish that I forgot to film. But this thing caught my attention, and it is a controller for his fans and his heater. And I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to definitely include that in this clip. Shane had some really pretty fish, but there's a lot to come in his next tank. Then we went over to my house, which was kind of funny. I had to leave my house to go to the tour. And I'm just giving you guys a slideshow because you've seen my reef. These are pictures that I recently shared on Facebook on melevsreef, the melevsreef page. And so here were a bunch of iPhone pictures I took from above through a smartphone floater that I sell on my website. So if you want one of these, order one. My tank is a 400-gallon reef. It's been running for 4 years and 7 months. It is version 2.0 because the first tank that I had sprung a leak after 13 months. Then there was a delay waiting for the repair, and then, here I am with a beautiful reef, and I'm very happy with it. I'd say on this tour about 45 or 50 people joined us. So there's a lot of cars parked in front of each house as we stopped. And you basically stay at each home for about 30 minutes or so, and the person will talk about their tank, which is exactly why there's no footage of my tank with all the people, because I was telling everyone about my system and explaining how it all works, answering questions about feeding regimes or the lack of water changes I perform, or what kind of additives I use in my reef. So I hope that the slideshow was something you enjoyed just now. I did turn off the return pump and suggested that everyone get a chance to look at the reef from above, but only a couple of people took me up on my offer. Phillip has a beautiful 300-gallon reef, and I was very impressed with it. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed it so much, I didn't film it very much because I was too busy staring at it and trying to stay out of everyone else's way as they were staring at it. And he and his wife also sell corals online, so we got to see some of their eye candy both on the right end of the tank, as well as in a separate closet. He has another frag system where he's growing out his species that he can put for sale in his shop. His corals were super healthy, and his gear underneath was really crammed into the sump. It was pretty cool to explore. And, of course, we appreciated that Phillip opened his doors to let us come inside to enjoy his system. Keep in mind, a lot of times when you visit reef tanks early in the morning before their lights normally come on, the corals aren't fully open and they're not expressing their vivid colors. But his tank did just fine, considering we were there probably, I would say, around 12:30 that day. So typically when most people's lights probably come on for their reef tanks, because most people light their tanks later in the day and then enjoy it into the evening. And so, the mornings, the reef wakes up quietly. And here's that secondary frag system. And let's get closer and take a peek. Awesome. Big colonies. Our next stop was to see Ryan's 1,000-gallon reef. And this tank has been running for just over a year, and yet with a tank so large, and I believe it's 10 feet long by 4 feet wide, when you have such a large tank, corals are still really small until they get to that volleyball-sized colony. So we really enjoyed it, but there's still a lot to come in about 2 to 3 years. I couldn't wait to see Tammy's 800-gallon reef. I hadn't been there in over a year, and it is looking spectacular. I've had a lot of people ask me for updates on this tank, and it's coming. So here's the thing that caught my eye. See the sump? There's a gem tang in there. Only Tammy would have a backup gem tang hanging out in her anemone section of her sump. I think it's kind of hilarious, but the fish seems completely happy in there. So those of you that are saying, why is Dory in my anemone cube? Well, look at what Tammy's doing with a fish that costs, 100 times as much. Her reef is lit with radions all the way across. I think there was 8 or 10 of them. And everything is looking great. She has a couple of pieces of corals in her tank from my reef, which is kind of cool. And yeah, you guys are going to love it when I do the update. It's so much better than what we saw about 3 years ago. So that is coming. The nice thing about this is it's in the living room to where you can enjoy it, but you also have the backside that you can access for working on it with maintenance. There's a whole room behind it with all the gear. And of course you can see it from the kitchen as well. And this is a wide open room. So there's no problems with heat or condensation or anything along those lines. Her tank now, I believe, has been going for about 4 years. And you know, we'll get the updates. Anyway, you'll hear the whole thing. This is the tour. This is a quick one. Yeah, it's looking great. Something funny that caught my eye is coming up here in a moment. And she runs multiple properties, including a bar. And one of the things you have in a bar is a mat where you make the drinks, right? So check out her frag station. Don't we all need mats that are sponsored by a type of vodka for our, it makes sense, reef keeping. All right, and then our final tank that we visited that day was Carlos. At this point, I was pretty tired. I barely filmed his tank. I was busy asking him questions about his crazy sump system because it goes through a hole in the wall. And when I say a hole in the wall, I mean a giant hole you can put your head through. You're gonna see it here in a second. He was messing with his lights. Look at that giant hole in the wall. His wife did approve it. So here is what you would say is refugium. Needs room. It has room for lots of plants, but there's a big old hole in the wall. And then the gear is hiding in there as well. So here is a coral that caught my eye because it isn't your normal vivid green. See, here it is under daylight, and it's almost like a ghost coral. Anyway, that's the tour, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and there'll be another one soon.